This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLiPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelcastans. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelcastans have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Brooke.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Episode 97. Closing Timeline Gaps.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 97 of the Zettelcast. Makes me shake my head wondering how did we ever get up to 97 already? Well, we had a wonderful exercise last time with Mel. Mel advised us and led us in a project of building a timeline for each of our characters. This is such an important thing for both organizing the story from the parts that we're writing, but it's absolutely essential when it comes to integrating our pieces as the story progresses. And it made us realize that most of our writing so far had been in Act 1. We haven't really tackled the more advanced parts of the story yet. So we think that maybe having that timeline would give us the courage to go forward. Well, my challenge to the group today was to say, okay, now that you've got that timeline, are there any gaps in there that are jumping out at you? Something that you've put off explaining? How did your character get from here to there? What can you feel and close off to finish that story and line it up so that we can begin to have that solid Act 1 basis to start moving forward into the story? Or maybe the gap that you've identified is a future situation and you're readying yourself to either project towards the higher acts 2 and 3 and 4 or actually moving into them. So it's wide open as to when, but the whole challenge was find a gap that the timeline exposed and fill it with a scene. Deb, you kind of indicated you'd be willing to go first.
Yeah, okay. So the gap I closed was whether Sarah, this is Dr. Sarah Chen, who trained throughout her whole career to distrust the word miracle. And the question is whether or not she could recognize one when it isn't performing for her. And a heads up, there's a final paragraph where she says what she finally understood. And I'm holding back on that one on purpose. I'm not saying that one. I'm not reading that part. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it first. And we may not even include it because I think it's a bona fide spoiler. So
All right. Yeah.
yeah.
We're walking the tightrope.
Yep. Yep. So here we go. It's called What Clouds Are Made Of? Notes from Lydia, version 3, if you will. Okay. Dr. Sarah Chen had crossed 11 light years on a rumor and meant to find out what it actually was. Xenolinguistics had taught her to distrust the word miracle. She cataloged dozens of colonies that used it to sell tourists on nothing more than decent weather. But Lydia's numbers had followed her for 2 years, refusing to be explained away. A generation was reaching adulthood, asking as many questions as it had at age 5. In the transit lounge, she'd sketched 3 hypotheses on a napkin: an engineered curriculum, a language built for the shape of curiosity, or something neurological that got banked and passed down like an inheritance. She crossed out none of them. because any could be true, and all of them would be extraordinary. Waiting for the ship to dock, she watched the welcome reel looping on the bay's monitors. A woman crouched low in a garden bed, listening to a child's stumbling question with her whole face. Patient through the long pauses before an answer came. Quaint, Sarah thought, and went back to her napkin. Kindness wasn't data. 3 months in, Sarah stopped taking notes and started sitting on the floor. The room was called the kitchen, though no one cooked there. A boy of maybe 7 held up a rock and asked why it was heavier than his hand, even though his hand was bigger. The woman from the welcome reel didn't answer. She was Muriel, and weathered and unhurried. She turned the rock over in his palm, saying, "What do you think is inside a hand that isn't inside a rock?" His answer was wrong. Confidently, beautifully wrong. Something about hands being mostly air, like clouds. Sarah felt the correction rise in her own throat before she caught herself. A reflex worn smooth by 20 years of research, the fast, efficient work of making someone less wrong faster. She held it. Beside the boy, Muriel's mouth had shaped the same fix and let it go unspoken. Instead, she asked what clouds were made of, and the two of them wandered off into a wrongness that would, 3 exchanges later, arrive at density on its own. Slower than a lecture, but arriving owned instead of delivered. In the courtyard after, 2 girls were still arguing with obvious affection over a game they'd lost 4 years ago. A loss reinterpreted so many times it had become a shared history neither would trade in for a win. That was the currency between them. Not what happened, but what they insisted on remembering together. Unobtrusive as a lamp, a translucent shape hovered at the edge of both kitchen and courtyard alike. Sarah caught it only sideways, a flicker at the periphery of her vision that resolved into nothing when she turned to look. Sarah ran the numbers anyway, because the numbers were why she crossed light years to confirm what her eyes had already told her. But what stayed with her wasn't the numbers. It was that nobody she'd watched all day had looked up. Not Muriel, not the boy, not the girls still relitigating their 4-year-old loss. None of them treated what she just watched as remarkable. On Earth, she would have written it up. Here, it was Tuesday.
Wow. Oh, yeah. You made me increase my desire to go live on Lydia.
Tuesday. Me too. I would go there yesterday. Yeah. So preferably when I was about 7 or maybe 3
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be an incredible place to grow up? And
Oh, yes.
oh, everything from the people to the mechanical squirrels.
Yeah.
All support creativity and asking questions and being filled with wonder and
And encouraged.
yeah.
Wonderful. Nobody being afraid to ask a question because they're afraid of being looking stupid. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
there's no such thing. There's no such thing. And natural as breathing in and out, as natural as breathe, because you grew up that way. So naturally, that's the way you'd still be as an adult, right? What would you change?
Yeah. Why would you want to change any such thing? Yeah.
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 Okay.
So then shall we save for round two the gap that got filled? Well, that will give us another round of discussion after we've each read our piece.
The well, I mean, the gap that was filled, I talked about it already, which was her distrust of the word miracle. That was her, that was the gap that was filled. And the last paragraph would tell you what I'm talking about, but I can't tell you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Shall I go, Kathleen?
Yes, please.
So what I read last week was the beginning of a story called You Had to Be There, in which Sonny, with his link, is going through um, revisiting feelings that he had through the services of the link, feelings that he had had during the previous 48 hours. And he was identifying what was called the feeling tone, which is this pleasant, unpleasant, or neither? Neutral. And so there's more to the story, and it picks up in a completely other location. And it is the location is the Beatty family, the same evening. And the Beatty family, we meet in an earlier chapter at the buildup. Howie and Brenda Beatty are the parents and they're best mates of Jenna's parents. And they have three kids. There's Penny Beatty, who is roughly Jenna's age. Um, and then there's a younger brother whose voice is changing, to give you a sense of how old he is, named Troy. And then an even younger brother named Todd, whose voice is nowhere near changing yet. And we've seen Todd a time or two, including in a story that Kathleen has shared. All right, so here we go. Hey, Al, Todd said to his link. Here, Todd. Do we have VTag? VTag is in the open section of the Beatty Library. Yes, Todd thought. Got the go-ahead already. Let's start it. Al's playback engine ingested the executable from the family library and filled Todd's mental theater with the VTag game's imagery and sound. Todd gave it a moment and then, confused, said, Has it started? Yes. Todd shut his eyes tight just to prove to himself they weren't already closed. He opened them again. Closed, open, made no difference. He was looking at the familiar, swirly darkness behind his eyelids. And what he heard was nothing. Nada. At a pace nearly too gradual to notice, the view lost what little color and texture it had, leaving not darkness exactly. Nothing. Nothing but nothing. Something rippled in the middle distance, a distance that until then hadn't even seemed to exist. He wanted to check out whatever that was, but it wasn't obvious how. It wasn't obvious what he was even supposed to be, let alone do. Other games with a first-person view had some visual like a mask or a headset in place of your own usual face frame, if this even was a first-person view. Get closer, he spoke into the game. The ripple got closer, or bigger. Todd had no feel of movement itself. However it worked, he could see more of the rippler. There was some kind of semi-stable object dead ahead. But was it in front of him? He had no sense of direction on any axis. The rippling might be his own visual sense trying out different angles. A winner emerged. Whatever it was above whatever he was and heading his way. Spots and lines and arcs formed into a grayish archway like you might see in a moonlit garden on a cloudy night. The arch completed its descent, coming to rest at his feet, if he had them. He tried voice control again. Go on through. The front of the archway was passing above and to his sides. He was just looking up to its rafters when a siren blared and the entire field began strobing red. A horrible high voice wailed, "Not so!" He heard Troy laughing. "I'm trying to concentrate," Penny shouted into the Beatty thou. "You mean this one isn't you, Pen?" Howie said. "Hilarious, Dad." Todd was just getting over the initial shock when the secondary hit him. He made that happen. He failed a veracity test. "Back up," he said to the game. He was once more a disembodied nobody in a soundless field, empty except for the archway, which now had a solid-looking door with writing scrawled in lurid red. Entry fee, 5 points. "Not fair," he protested to the game. "I only said to go on through. That wasn't a lie." The thou whined and wailed again. "Not so!" And oh, what fun. The 5 on the door was crossed out and now had 10 above it. Troy was laughing harder now. Jerk. Todd might have been tempted to quit, but now he was determined to keep going. "How did I lie, then?" he said to no one in particular. He looked over the front and sides. Nothing jumped out at him. Utterly stumped, he just hung out there, catching his breath. For some reason, he flashed on Sean, yelling, "Fade!" and pointing frantically up the path after the Lucasa ceremony. Nobody saw what Sean was seeing. Neither did Todd, but those lights mattered, and he was ready to trust the old man's eyes more than his own. Like he did that day, Todd let a question fill his mind without insisting on an answer. What am I not seeing? He stopped trying to see and just let his vision do what it knows how to do. And something did catch his eye on the left side of the archway. A snake-like curve in the same non-hue as the nothingness all around the visible structure. He sharpened his eyes. The curve vanished. Todd sighed. "Don't pounce on it, dummy. Just see." When the curve found him again, he pretended it was so unbelievably shy that any hint of aggression, the slightest twitch, would scare it away. He let his eyes relax even more, and their focus widened. The snake-like curve lay in the middle of other shapes, drawn from nothing on or through the ghostly surface of the arch. Letters. A word. Understand. His inner eyes slid further up the left side of the arch, where more words fell into sight. And accept the. Continuing over the top and down the right, terms and conditions. He retraced the route back around to the first snake-like S he recognized and on down to the beginning of his lie. I understand and accept the terms and conditions. Todd said to the door, I don't know what the terms and conditions are. I lied by walking through. The 10 disappeared, along with the scratches through the 5. What are they? Todd said. The game didn't respond as far as he could tell. He tried again. What terms and conditions must I understand to play this game? Nothing. Maybe it was speaking and he was listening too hard to hear it. He tried not trying to hear, not trying to see, not trying to do anything. An idea bubbled up. Am I supposed to work out what they are for myself? The door vanished.
Oh my. All this to start playing. Oh, very clever. Very clever. I see. So, and thus, curiosity remains an ever-present coin. You've talked often about the price being curiosity. This is a clear case of it. You can't be forcing your vision. You can't be forcing your hearing. You can't be forcing your understanding. You have to just remain with your curiosity and see what bubbles in.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is essentially like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah. 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 Who's just going to knees and elbows and charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Go through.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Well, in the next round, we'll talk about what gap that fills for you.
Yeah.
And my gap, that story is about Helen, and it's entitled What's Wants. You'll recognize the first 2 words, being the title of one of your scenes. Helen stood at the threshold of the want doorway into What's Wants. It would be a first for her. Every other visit to this fine establishment had been through the need door. And she had prided herself on coming away briskly with whatever she required, be it a new turkey roaster or some ribbons for her daughter's hair. While other customers may have looked at her strangely, she was strictly get in and get out, as the place gave her the willies. This time, it was those very willies she was determined to face. She walked through the want door, but she couldn't bring herself to budge from the entryway. After a few moments, she began to feel ridiculous, and she forced herself to begin walking along the wall to the right of the door, pausing at each item as though interested. She jerked startled when she realized that someone was speaking to her. May I interest you in a conversation? It was Reggie, the older of the father-son duo of the Watt family. Yes, you mean now? Conversations always take place in the now. He was speaking real words, not the link. Helen matched him, switching to vocalization. Well, okay, but about what? About what you want, of course. A conversation is what I want, though she was confused as to how he could know that. But not with me? His voice went up at the end like a question, but to Helen it felt like a statement. Again, she felt as though he was reading her mind. Well, then, might as well be open about it. Frankly, I was hoping for a conversation with my husband. I need a conversation starter. Oh, but you came through the want door. It felt like a challenge. Because I want a conversation. Helen blushed at the ridiculousness of her own words, but there was no taking them back. Reggie laughed softly, encouragingly, soothingly. That's how Helen felt it. Like the soft laugh made her embarrassment fade. I know what you mean about Freddie. He's easy to talk to, but it's hard to get him to take anything seriously. Oh, Helen thought to herself. I never imagined that Freddie might be part of the problem. But the last sentence she accidentally said out loud. Another deep blush. Actually, as she did feel the need to correct the impression she had just given, Freddie is very good at reasoning through problems. It's just maybe we don't have enough problems. I don't know why it is, but we never seem to really talk anymore. Good grief. Now she was confessing family matters to a shop clerk. Helen was deeply regretting having come here. So, I'll ask you the question you asked me earlier. What do you want to talk to Freddie about? How's that for hitting the nail on the head? Okay, face up to it. I want to find something that I can take home with me that will be a conversation starter. For you to enter his world or to guide him into yours? Helen thought back on the semi-disastrous time when she had joined Freddie in one of his gaming evenings. Best not to go there. But she didn't want to be selfish and make it about her. Not sure where to take her thoughts, she found herself blurting out, "For us to enter the world we share." "Ah," said Reggie, "I think I've got just the thing over here," as he led her to a counter labeled Memory Keepers.
That was sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reggie reminds me of Tasty, who is the proprietor of Old Souls Foods.
Yes.
He needs to know what's going on with you so he can serve you the right thing for it.
Right.
And this is
Although
a different kind of customer service,
yes.
but it's very, very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's real customer service.
Indeed.
Customer service. Yeah. Almost like just what the doctor ordered kind of customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have to answer the question for ourselves. When he started with, "Can I interest you in a conversation?" Did he have any idea that a conversation was what she was after? Or
Right.
was he simply opening a conversation about what she wanted?
Yeah.
We may never know, or we may. Who knows? It's intriguing that he also chose to speak verbally instead of in the
Yeah.
link.
Yeah. 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 Speaking. And that's going to be an interesting question too, because of course, another gap is how Helen comes to begin to discover the boundaries of the link, which she right now has never explored.
Yeah.
You know?
She gets in and out.
Yes. 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 And I can identify, having recently moved to a new city, when I look at a route, how to get from here to there, I say to myself, well, how can I get from here to there, beginning from roads that I've already driven on? Don't take me on some totally new route. Get me
Yeah.
there from where I've already been.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is one of the great things about our GPS technology of today.
Yeah.
Now that when we were late, my husband and I were late to getting GPS. We're not, we didn't jump on that right away, but when we did get it, and we let it take us home from where we were going, we chose to not go straight home. Just, well, let's go to a grocery store and let's see how it handles that. And so we were discovering the whole recalculating thing, which was I'm generally not intimidated by finding my way around, but my husband is. My husband doesn't have a sense of direction that he feels confident in at all. And so that was just like such a lifeline. And, it's one of those things that Earth has already gotten right.
Yeah, yeah. Although for me, with my 2003 vehicle, it doesn't come built in.
No, ours doesn't either. Because we buy used all the way.
Well, the whole part of the purpose of this challenge was for us to take a look at the timelines, the Chronos lines in our stories, and see if we could identify where. Well, one of the challenges that Mel gave us that's ongoing for me is putting in links to everything we've already written. So it ties back to our characters and back to the Chronos line that our characters are living in. So since Deb, you've already mentioned that yours wasn't really about filling a Chronos gap, but a conceptual gap, can you share with us Chronos? Where does this occur for Sarah Chen in, you kind of place it in time starting from her presence on the ship. Can you fill us in a little bit on that? And then tell us about the gap you did fill.
Yeah, it was first blush, pretty much. She came there with a preconceived notion, not a preconceived, but a whole host of preconceived notions, and that she was just gung ho, but not. I mean, she's very conservative, academician. I mean, she but she was firm in her beliefs. There were no cracks in them. And so when she that's why she looked at that film that, well, at the Welcome Center when they were docking, and she said, niceness isn't data. Because she was looking for numbers, something that could be quantified, and so chronologically, it was from the time she landed.
Yeah.
And all the other stories are subsequent points. Yeah. From there. So does and thank you for asking that specific question at this specific time, because it helped me. It helped a lot. Thank you. Good. Okay. Because I'm definitely been struggling with this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she must have had some trouble trying to translate into data the image of the rock and the hand and what the hand was made of.
Yeah. That's why, this is at least 3 months later when she stopped taking notes and started sitting on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Because in her core, she's a scientist. And scientists have to observe what's there, not because they want to see it, but because it's there. And, not making up stuff and saying, okay, well, you know, having done what they call a foregone conclusion. No, 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 no. None of that. You can only, the catalog was actually there in front of your face, what you're looking at. And that's when she began to go through her transformation. Yeah.
We see her shift from being the objective data gatherer to being a witness to something that is happening around her.
Right. She became, and that's another future consideration of how this earthborn person, this earthborn, earth-raised, mature person was able to get into the ye. How did that happen? How did that happen? But that's
yeah, another gap here
Mhm.
yet. But we sense that it has, clearly sense that it has happened.
Yeah. So, and that was also kind of encouraging that this could happen. That this is, hey, this is a learnable skill. You don't have to be Lydian born to be able to participate in this.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, is there a word called giddifying? I don't know. She was kind of elated behind that. Yeah.
Well, from the character trait perspective, it feels to me like docility went from somewhere above the rudder, maybe all the way above the rudder, don't know, and is making a descent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the evidence is what the evidence is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is a strange one, of course, because normally the scientist is deep into the circumspection character trait. That would be probably base. If not anchor. I mean, anchor anyway, if not base. And now that means that everything is you look out, you observe. But with docility, when you're willing to accept something, some outside source as an authority, and you're willing to buy into it, that's the power of docility. And you did really, really tap that. So Julianne was spot on with that. Thank you, Julianne. That was perfect.
So my gap is that having seen what Sunny is doing at the beginning of this chapter, where the link is able to do something that makes Sunny feel something. And that thing that Sunny is feeling is not necessarily pleasant. The very first one that he receives actually is not pleasant. What are the limits of that? You've got this thing in your head. What can it do to you? What are the circumstances in which it can make you feel something unpleasant? What are the guardrails? Those are the terms and conditions of the game. And it's, Todd's going to try this and he already knows it's not going to work, but he tries it. Well, can I have my dad accept it for me? He'll get a response that kind of makes him look at the I accept the terms and conditions. And then he's going to have to figure out not only what they are, but why he has to do this. before he can play this game.
Mhm.
And that is an important part of the link all the time.
Yeah.
The link does not have carte blanche to mess with you. And I've just been saying that in all of these conversations and trying to demonstrate it. For example, Kathleen, you demonstrated with Teresita that not anybody can just, blurt into your thou. You have to invite them in, kind of like you invite the vampire into your house. You have to invite someone to be causing speech to happen in your head and other things. It's gonna happen. You have to invite it. It has to be volitional on your part again and again and again and again. Um, and so yeah, so I just wanted this to be okay. Well, how does somebody discover that for themselves?
I think there's a very powerful analogy to our own thoughts, because as we were talking about in the earlier version, when we were early part of the story, when we were talking about Sonny's review of his experiences and how valuable it was, that we were talking about, well, wouldn't that be neat if we could do that? But the reality is, and we really see it happening with Todd, that uh, our own minds, function in much the same way.
Yep.
When do we experience stabbing thoughts? When do we experience thoughts of anxiety, that are that we ourselves manufacture out of a sunny day? Sometimes some big storm clouds in our own minds, and what are the terms and conditions of those?
Yeah.
And do we have the ability to review them and uncheck certain boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes also just being aware, I know I'm speaking a little bit personally here, I tend to be anxiety prone in new circumstances. And there's nothing like landing in a whole new city to face you with a generous heaping of those. Enough so that it's like, enough is enough already. Why? And, is my review tonight going to be all the same? Or am I going to stop and say, wait a minute? And so then to realize, to watch Todd on the brink of having to answer those same questions for himself very soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, you wonder, well, go back to curiosity. Well, why aren't people curious? Well, is it memories of past instances when someone has stomped on them for their curiosity? And does their constant bringing that memory back to that thought back to one's own mind, with the other person maybe being years in the past?
Yeah.
Okay, then at what point do you just review it and settle it?
Yeah.
So very, very tremendously insightful. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Julianne. So my time gap, Cronus time gap, is this gap between Helen's wanting to have a conversation and actually having one. She has spent so much of her life being in these little formulaic setups, raising her kids, being the wife to her husband, being a hostess, all the roles that she knew so well how to play. But she has always been in the presence of marvelous conversations that were genuine and fun, and just a great way of spending an evening, even if you're only in the vicinity of those conversations. And she's watching those opportunities disappear. And of course, that has made her come to understand that they don't happen around her because she's only been a voyeur of such conversations. She hasn't been a genuine participant in them. And so, of course, now she wants a conversation, but she enters the want store, but she's really got this need mentality that she's always brought into what's wants, which you go there, you talk to the clerk, you get what you need, and you get out. So she's just in a whole new realm of what's what when you come in with a want. You don't come into a grocery store. You don't come into a sundries shop. You come into a place of wonder when you enter with a want. And she's had the fun opportunity when she gets back home with her little memory keeper that she'll bring back with her. She's realizing that she's actually had a conversation.
Yeah. A pretty good one.
Right. And of course, we do actually get to see, by and large, to me, Helen is a sympathetic character, but I had to reveal a little bit of feet of clay for her because she's not Miss Perfect by any means. When she's analyzing this conversation, she says, "Good grief. Now she was confessing family matters to a shop clerk."
I know that one went.
Oh, what is that telling us about Helen?
Yeah.
She may be aware of one gap she wants to fill. What about this other one that's in the pinnacle?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think Teresita is going to help there because she's got Teresita categories too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and absolutely not in Lydia is not the place to associate with people through categories.
Yeah.
Although she's quite content with having her own. And she's been living within the bounds of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not totally judgmental, like I'm above this person. It's like, you're in this category, you're in this category, I'm in this category.
Well, she's not the first and she won't be the last.
Yeah, and sometimes there the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Until you look at it and then you say, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Mm.
And I'm wondering whether or not she's going to have an encounter with someone, perhaps somebody who already exists in the story, but not someone that she's already been associated with, who might say something with a somewhat unkind tone of voice whose barb will prick something and actually get through.
Mm.
It might take that, you know?
Shock.
Sometimes, yeah, that there's kindness in the slight little amount of unkindness, just to like,
yeah.
wave the hand and say, looky here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I look forward to your description if you want to share it in another story of the memory keeper. I'll just share one thing. This is one of the many sources that in the very, very, very early episodes of this podcast I shared as an inspiration for this book or a reference, and I had to pull it out because I knew I needed to do something. And it's The Art of Game Design.
Oh, yeah.
This is a textbook.
Wow.
That for some reason I got in 2019. And when I did the deep outline for this story, and what I just read today, which was about 800 words, was a paragraph in the deep outline.
Yeah.
But it had to expand this. He needs to really see something, and I needed to design it as a game. And I don't. This is not things I do. And um, and it also helped. I'll pull out another book that I got early in my software career when I was face planted with a really bad release.
Uh-oh.
When we did an upgrade of some software and it didn't meet the customer's expectations at all. We
Oh.
really got we learned a lesson.
Oh, wow.
And this book called Exploring Requirements,
Oh,
Quality Before Design,
yeah.
really helped me get attuned to the difference between a requirement and a design.
Yeah.
And so when I was writing the deep outline for this, fortunately, I was getting bogged down and I realized I'm trying to design the game before I even know what the game needs to do. I'm
Oh,
trying to design Todd's experience before I even know what it needs to be.
yeah.
Just start with that, write the requirements, and then I have something to try to design for. It
Yeah.
was super helpful.
Yeah. Oh, so then, of course, the archway was the design.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it was even recently. It's like, well, I knew that he needs to get not only have uh, the sirens blaring and everything. He needs to lose points by
Yeah.
having done it.
Yeah.
How am I going to show a scoreboard?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where I've been thinking about that for the last several days, and I just came up. Well, there's a door, and it's got a
Yeah. Yeah.
it's charging points now, and
Yeah.
it's not doing it in a nice way.
Barb again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and everything else that happens in the game, I mean, it happens for a reason, but um, yeah, in a way, it's just like the game is showing you the minimum that you need to see in order to proceed,
Yeah.
and everything else is like nothing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is so rich. Ah,
Yeah, I keep coming back to kindness wasn't data. Mhm. Um, with Sarah Chen and her scientist hat on, you know. Um, with you guys, hmm. But the whole idea of terms and services, or terms and conditions rather, because that is such a moat,
Yeah,
you know. And so many people, so many of us, just like that, just leap across.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Uh-huh. And then when we get stung, we say, but I didn't. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You did. And I wonder sometimes whether or not, and then I say they did do it deliberately. They put it in this, 3-inch font, three-point font,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
in the lightest gray
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
And you're hit with this wall of text, and all you really want to do is play the game.
yeah,
And so you are primed to just go, yeah, yeah, and go on.
yeah,
It's deliberate and it's vicious. It's really.
yeah. It tells you what you're dealing with.
yeah.
something that isn't free.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Even when you paid for it, even you don't actually have what you assumed you paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because there was a price on it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you are not the product.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are different prices.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Dollar price and a heart and soul price, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Mm. So kindness is data.
Yeah.
It is data. It's a question of, but how do you quantify it? That becomes the, and so you come back to the thing of figuring out a way to show, not tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out. And that's the
And
craft
that's an amazing job of that. You did a fabulous job of that, Julianne.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and just to answer your question, Julianne, the memory keeper is going to be a Locasa. Had to be.
Very nice. Very nice.
And the whole family is going to end up participating.
Super. Yeah, I love that. I love that these various, I mean, there are like, if we think of the game, there are game mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And just like our own human mechanics, they're multi-purpose. Well, Kathleen, where can people go if they want more of what we're offering here and more than that?
You can come to LiLLiPub.org. It's where we hang out when we're not in YouTube land. LiLLiPub.org. It's the best $8 a month you could ever imagine spending. You can join us on the Roanoke Project. You can meet with us in Zoom calls. You can join Fusion Writing, where Victoria teaches us marvelous, marvelous lessons on creating stories. You could join us every week on our calls, on our Fusion Writing calls. There's just so many opportunities to be a part of things if you come on over to LiLLiPub.org. See you there. Bye-bye.
Bye.